Welcome to this, our first in a series of shorts on sustainable engineering. My name is Peter Egan and I'm going to take you through this presentation on understanding sustainability within a military context. Albert Einstein once famously said, "No problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it." Well, what does this mean to us in a military context? It means that we can't change and solve our problems in the way we've always addressed them. And if we can't, what do we need to do in the future to be able to change with society and meet our sustainable requirements for the future? So this presentation is going to take us through the following areas. What does sustainability mean within a military context? What does climate change and how does it affect us? What are our legal and social responsibilities in terms of climate change? So what does sustainability mean within a military context? If you look in the Staff Officer's Handbook, the MOD looks at the term sustainability as our ability to endure, how to maximise our resources and manpower to support the operation. When we look at it in terms of infrastructure, we treat it as an asset management and streamlining of our supply chain to enable our projects to move forward. We look at it as operational effectiveness and supply chain management to make our operations sustainable in the long term. But when you look at it in a civilian context, looking at climate change, sustainability focuses on meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. It looks specifically at the three pillars of sustainability: economic, environmental and social, better known as planet, profit and people. So what is climate change and how does it affect us? Well, climate change is a natural occurring event. It's been happening for many generations and thousands of years in different cycles across the planet. So when we're talking about climate change and our effect on it, we need to look at how we directly affect our environments both locally and globally. We need to look at how we are damaging the natural cycle of nature and the environment's ability to be able to self-regulate itself and balance out one effect against another. We also need to look at how we have been damaging our environment by our interaction with it. And this can have a number of effects directly and indirectly across the globe. One, which is most commonly known about, is global warming, rising temperatures due to increased CO2 levels across the Earth. But also these increased CO2 levels are having direct health concerns. They change the way that air quality is cycled around our cities, how air toxicity levels are affected in different parts, and they have a direct concern and impact on the way we live. They're also reducing fuel security and how rising temperatures are causing food shortages in different parts of the planet. It's causing water scarcity, deserts to grow larger, forests to decline, and a number of different effects through carbon change across the planet. Our interaction is increasing plastic growth and its disintegration across the world. You'd be amazed by how much plastic is actually in your body through the ingestion of water. So there's a number of ways of where we naturally damage the environment within which we live. So how do these effects directly affect us as a military and on operations? Well, as you can see from the table on the left hand side, carbon change is affecting the world in loads of different ways, from acidification of our oceans to direct deaths associated with heat waves and wildfires, to the displacement of millions of people across the planet, which are actually creating the operations with what we are now going on. But on these operations, climate change can directly affect us in different ways. Well, it could increase the hostile populations in the environments we're working in due to scarcity of food and water within their populations. We could lose our own food security on operations due to the fact that people are attacking our convoys to get the food and water. We could lose water security within our locations with water sources drying up, and meaning we'd need to bring water in on transport from a number of different places, increasing our resource burdens. We could suffer from localised flooding, as you can see in pictures in the bottom right hand corner. It could be as flooding from local areas where we have to go and assist, or it could be the flooding out of our operations, and you can see the pictures there from Korea where that was directly happened to UK troops. It could increase higher energy demands required from overheating, not just ourselves but equipment. But we could also directly be affected by fuel shortages, and how do we get that fuel to our locations and how do we secure it? We could also encounter a number of resourcing shortages across both the military operations and construction. And these are ways we have to secure as part of our military operations, increasing the burden, increasing risk to life, and increasing the risks on our operational effect. So to meet these climate change risks and issues, governments across the world have been bringing out policies and commitments to deal with our climate change and our carbon footprints. The UK government has issued a number of different policies and acts which are our commitment to changing and protecting our environment. The Climate Change Act of 2008 committed us to an 80% reduction in greenhouse gases by 2050 from a baseline of 1990. The Energy Act of 2011 gave us an obligation to reduce our energy usage across the operational estate. The Environmental Protection Act of 1990 made sure that we were to protect the natural environments within which we work, be that our training areas, construction, or the estate within which we live every day. The Environmental Bill of 2020 gave the UK's 25-year environmental plan, committing us to a net zero carbon footprint. But a number of different agreements, multinational, have also brought a commitment to us to keeping down temperatures to a no greater than increase than 1.5 degrees above the 1990 baselines. The Paris Agreement of 2016 was one such agreement. A number of different guidelines have also been brought out to help us achieve this. The UN's 17 Sustainable Goals are a great set of guidelines showing us how we have to work holistically across a number of areas to be able to meet a sustainable future. And these will be discussed more in another short. Within the UK MOD, the Sustainable MOD Strategy of 2015 to 2025 is our guidance on how we're going to meet this strategy within our organisation, and focuses heavily on the UK estate and how it will be managed. JSP 418, the Management of Environmental Protection, again looks at the operational estate and how we manage our operation and infrastructure overseas to be able to manage our operational and environmental impact. This MOD Sustainability and Environmental Appraisal Tool, the SEAT Handbook, is a great way of addressing this on UK property and on UK estate overseas, and seeing how different areas of your project can be addressed to reduce its environmental and carbon footprint. So let's take a slightly greater look at the UN's 17 Sustainable Goals. As you can see here, they cover a large range of different areas, be that addressing poverty, hunger and well-being, to looking at education, infrastructure development and peace and justice across the world. And you would think that how, as engineers, do we affect all these different elements? Well, in fact, we have a great impact on them. 9 out of the 17 Sustainable Goals are covered by the infrastructure arena. Here you can see on this chart from the World Green Building Council the 9 areas of the 17 Sustainable Goals, covering from how buildings affect people's health and well-being, to how they can create jobs for the economy, how the use of different materials can create cleaner environments for us to work with, which is sustainable to climate change and different types of environment, to reducing emissions, working with water and waste, and building larger and more stronger economies through partnership with industry. So with this insight into sustainable design and sustainable construction, we really need to look at greater areas for discussion. So here are just a couple of topics I would advise you to discuss within your units and within your teams. Is there actually a requirement for sustainable design and operations? And if not, why not? What priority should it take within our design, and what should it take priority over? And what form should it take, and how should we implement it? I hope you enjoyed this short introduction to sustainable engineering. Here are a number of references what we used to create this presentation, and I hope you have looked forward to the next one.